Hello everyone, your favorite shrimp is back. Big news on the 14th, a very high profile map set was vetoed, and this is the second veto in the standard game mode in 2026. It's actually also the second high profile one, because the other one was also from a high profile mapper. So we're going to do a quick coverage of what this veto is all about. So this is on the new system. I just made a video on what that new system is, and if you don't understand, please go check out that video. But on the new system, 3 BNs vetoed for the following reasons. A lack of variety across the map set, as all the difficulties map the song in fundamentally identical ways. There's a lack of variety within difficulties, leading to an overly repetitive gameplay experience and a lack of contrast. And there is content bloat due to the overly repetitive style and nearly indistinguishable differences across most of the difficulties padding the set. So you can kind of see how big the set is. And basically the concern that the vetoers bring up is that most of these top difficulties, particularly above GW, or particularly GWB, Kuki, Mechadon, and Tyler, are basically the same map. There's really not very much difference, and there's very little variety within them. So looking at Tyler's map, this is the carousel map, you can see that the jumps are mapped with these repetitive sort of X or V shape jumps. And besides, like, some of them being horizontal and some of them being vertical, all of the jumps are mapped exactly the same. You know, we look at this next section. And then in this case, it was slightly different, but basically the same pattern. And you get the idea there. Now, looking at Asphyx, that was not one of the ones that was in part of the veto, because it's a very, very different kind of map. It's very much so slider oriented. Mechadon had sort of a similar issue, where it was all sort of these vertical jumps with these V shapes. And Kuki. GWB. So you get the idea, right? And to be clear, with this veto, and the vetoers are not looking for, and they made it pretty clear that they weren't looking for, massive overarching changes necessarily. But what they are looking for is sort of the bare minimum amount of variety between the difficulties, because effectively all these difficulties are kind of mapping the song in basically the same way. They're really serving the same purpose. And then even within the difficulties, right, there's very little variation in those patterns, which creates a very boring gameplay experience. Now, you may personally like that and all that. Sort of at the concern is really that one difficulty doing that, 2 difficulties doing that, not a big deal. But when you have an entire map set, and to be clear, GWBs and Onward were just the worst offenders. The other ones have a similar concern, or a lot of the other ones have a similar concern. It really does create sort of a strange gameplay experience. Now, like I said, the veto was originally, when it was originally drafted, it was it didn't specify the scope. It has now since been clarified that the difficulties in question, if I remember right, do not include Abyssgar, they don't include Share, they don't include Mita, and they don't include Orphanius, and I believe they stop at Alumetri, if I remember right. Don't quote me on it. But, you can look at, like, Mitas for sort of where that boundary was that the vetoers were drawing, as where Mita has the V-shaped slide jumps before, but they also have star patterns, right? So V shape, and there's like some back and forths, N shape or whatever you want to call it, some star patterns again. So there's a little bit more variation in something like Mita's difficulty that met sort of that bare minimum standard that the vetoers were looking for. To be clear, you may entirely disagree with the veto, and that is totally acceptable. You are well within your right to do that. Again, that's what vetoes are for. They're for subjective issues. But please, when you're interacting with the veto, do it in good faith and don't insult the vetoers, because that's just not very fun. Okay. If you have any questions, just let me know. And again, if you're confused about how that veto system works, you can certainly check out my video that I did, or just let me know in the comments, and I will hopefully be able to help explain it for you. To be clear, that it has been vetoed and it has not moved on to mediation. It takes 24 hours for the option to move to mediation to occur, and it is unclear as to where that's going to go at this time. Some of you may also know that an individual attempted to leak or otherwise reveal sort of the internal discussions that occurred. It has been made clear that that is not allowed. You are not allowed to stream or share or leak the internal mediation or veto proceedings as they occur, because it is designed to be a private chat room where sort of all the individuals involved are protected and maintain their anonymity as long as they wish to have it. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. As simple as that. See ya.